Evaluating the as-is value and the ARV of the buildings is more scientific and formulas than ADV for land. They are. We use a formula to determine the actual cap rate using current NOI, net operating income. Then you can run the formula in reverse using the market cap with the projected NOI. You just run the whole thing in reverse, okay? We're going to go on to that page next. We're on page 40, same page we've been on. This gives you the ARV. So, guys, there's a simple formula we're going to go over next, which is the cap rate. Once we go over the cap rate, it's just a simple formula. You can run it in reverse. That's all that says. Okay, guys, don't get hung up on the cap rate. So many people get to the cap rate section. I hear it all the time. That cap rate, the cap rate, the cap rate. Guys, the cap rate means nothing to me. The cap rate to me is like a FICO score when I'm dealing with a $12 million or a $20 million property. It's absolutely irrelevant. And the reason why I say that is because if you're using a cap rate to buy property, you're in the wrong place. You're a retail buyer. All right? Knowing your projection on what it'll be worth and what the cap rate will be worth later when we sell is very important. Knowing the projection of the cap rate later when we do our pro forma to see when is the best time to sell is very important. But when we buy, don't be using cap rate when we buy. Okay? Use cap rate when we sell or when we're doing projections. This gives you the ARV, the after repaired value. Then you have to ask, does it fit the minimum profit margin? Are there enough cushions to absorb unforeseen problems, delays, and still have plenty of profit? Okay, does it still have plenty of profit? All right, page 41. What is a cap rate? All right. A cap rate, also known as a capitalization rate, is a percentage that relates the value of an income-producing property to its future income. That's what it is. You can determine the value by dividing the net operating income, all right, the net operating income by the purchase price. The NOI will always be disclosed to you, and then you just have to verify the NOI, the net operating income. Cap rate equals net operating income divided by purchase price, all right? NOI divided by the cap rate equals the purchase price. All right. You can run it backwards too. You must know the cap rate when determining the market value of any income-producing prospect. The cap rate is how owners and brokers determine the asking price. Look, brokers crunch the numbers. Sellers sometimes crunch the numbers. And brokers will crunch that number as a measuring stick to determine the value. Okay? That's how they determine the value. You must also know the net operating income, the NOI. Make sure you're including a factor for vacancy replacement reserves and management. NOI equals total annual income. All right? We're going to cover this later. CSI plus other, less expenses. We're going to cover that. When it comes to the NOI, many times if the numbers are off, it could be valued assuming there's off-site management, or better yet, the owner could be including the wife's Mercedes-Benz on the lease payment on the actual income statement, and that's not the way it works, guys. All right? It is common to have additional expenses added, and after you kick out those expenses, it will add value. We're going to discuss this in a whole. Always make sure you receive a complete financial analysis and verify how the NOI was determined. And you just ask. Now get this, guys. If the NOI is faulty, then the cap rate's going to be faulty. Now if the NOI is faulty, remember, it's buyer beware when it comes to commercial. Don't be scared of that. You just need to do your pre-contract due diligence and then your actual due diligence to verify the facts. And that's what the heavy lifting's here. That's why I'm here, okay? Now here it is. If the NOI is off, and the seller perhaps knew it was off, why is the seller's NOI off? Why is the seller having the NOI off? Why are they presenting property to us basically fluffing numbers? Why? What's the reason? What else are they fluffing? You see how it works? Remember I said to you in the financiers right here that it's all about the commitment, putting your skin in, showing good faith. Once that happens, then they know that you're committed. If you're saying, oh, I don't want to put any money in the deal, I want you to put money in the deal. I'm not putting money in the deal. You know, I want hard money, and you go put money over there. I'm not putting anything in, and I want to go for non-recourse over here. That means that you might not believe in the project. But if you say, look, I don't want to do any of this, but I'm willing to go ahead and take my LLC, my entity. I'm willing to put in my credit partner that's got real strong credit because we believe in this project together. Not me, not you, not the credit partner, the project. We believe in the project. and I'm also willing to bring in a money partner because they believe in the project. And we're all together, a whole, willing to say, we're here, we'll go ahead and sign, recourse if need be, we'll go ahead and put skin in if need be, but we're here and we're committed. A lot of times these financiers will go ahead and recognize that and understand you're committed, and they'll go ahead and loosen it up a little bit and say, okay, well, we can do this then. We can do these terms. If you want to go non-recourse, it's going to be a little bit more. We can do this, and they'll work it out. Everything's negotiable, all right? That's just a small process. But always verify how the NOI was determined. And do yourself a favor, second to last paragraph, when it says, always make sure you received a complete financial analysis, verify how the NOI was determined. Put a big circle around that, guys, because if you go back to that page later, you want to know the main thing that's on that page that you need to see. That's the main thing, because that will affect this measuring stick on what they're trying to sell you. A cap rate is nothing more than an income and value measuring stick. All right, page 42. Let's walk through it. Your mission is to buy at a high cap rate and sell at a low cap rate. All right? For example, if you're to buy an apartment building for $2 million with a 10% cap rate, follow me here. If you're to buy an apartment building for $2 million with a 10% cap rate, that means it has an NOI of $200,000. NOI $200,000 divided by purchase price of $2 million equals a 10% cap rate. Now, I could sit here and I could go ahead and do numbers like $327,000 and have all of you guys scratching your head trying to understand what I just walked you through. But I don't need to do that, guys. It's the simplicity factor about everything that I do so you guys understand it in a whole. You get it? Okay, good. Now, you can always get current market cap rate from any good commercial broker. And right underneath that, I want you to write this down. These two words, just ask. That's it. Just ask. You'll get it. They will give it to you. And if the broker doesn't know, I would say, why don't you know? They should know. Believe me, they should know. All right? If the property doesn't have current net income, it doesn't have a cap rate, guys. That's why if we're looking at liabilities, this is so powerful for you to get this. If we're looking at property that's 100% vacant and it doesn't have any income, is it going to have a cap rate? Do you see why I don't care about cap rates? What if it has a little bit of income? What do you think that cap rate's going to look like? Sometimes it's even a negative cap, okay? Now here's your cap rate quiz. Okay. An apartment complex has an NOI of $726,000 a year, and they're asking $9 million. What is the cap rate? Okay. And should you buy it? Okay, what'd you get? You got the calculator. Huh? 8.06. Yep, 8. Should you buy it? That's the right answer. It always depends on other considerations, guys, because we don't care what the cap rate's about. We need to know all the other factors. Everything that I just said. The cap rate doesn't matter when we buy. You get it? Write that down. That's why you got all this room down below. I want you to make a note on that. Should you buy it? It depends. Let me ask. What terms am I getting? Why is the seller selling? What's my exit strategy? What's next? What if they gave me this property for free? What's around the area? Everything that's on your property information sheets are questions that you should be asking. It's absolutely irrelevant what the cap rate is in my world when I buy. Because just because it's a good cap rate does not mean it's a good deal. Write that down. Just because it's a good cap rate does not mean it's a good deal. A lot more goes into it. Right. Page 43, folks. Using a cap rate to determine the value. This is important. You must know the net operating income and the cap rate the market is paying to arrive at a reasonable value. Now we're going to go ahead and arrive at a reasonable value. In my world, the cap rate is pretty much useless, just like I said, when I buy, except as a negotiating tool if there isn't one. I'm going to play some things for you guys either later today or in the days to follow here. And you're going to hear how I'm dealing with a property, and this property is vacant. And I tell the guy straight out, I go, do you know what we're up against here? Tell it to him just like that. He goes, what do you mean? And I go, that thing's just a big, ugly, empty box just sitting there. Do you know what we got to do to get that thing operating? To get that thing flush? Do you have any clue? Do you have any idea? And I told him just like that. You can use it as a tool when it comes to the cap rate if the cap rate's off. Look, we're buying a liability. This thing's not even flush. Look at what we're doing here. I got to reevaluate this thing. I just tell him just like that. I got to really look at this thing again. Wow, I didn't realize all that. What am I getting into here? Is that the best? The seller won't give any seller financing? Are you sure? Did you ask? Let's get him on the phone. We're going to talk about that too. Many properties we buy come with high vacancies, poorly managed, and in despair, as in distressed property. Therefore, they're losing money or they're closed. Who here wants to buy property that's losing money? Everybody's hand should go up, guys. Everybody's hand should go up. Who here wants to buy retail? Is there anybody buying retail here? Okay, good. I think I weeded them out already, right? If the property has no net income, it has no cap rate. And that's a good thing when you're buying. And obviously the reason you can get so much free equity. That's the way it works. But remember, if you're buying something that's vacant, write this somewhere on this page. If you're buying something that's vacant, that's not producing income, that's why we buy so cheap. Because now it's not only a liability, but to most, it's worthless. It's a worthless box. That's what it is. It's an empty box. It's like opening up a Christmas present with nothing in it. It's worthless. Only you can produce the NOI by listing the income and the expenses. Guys, make that note. Only you can produce the NOI, and this is the way it's done, by listing the income and expenses and plugging in a vacancy, maintenance, and management figure. Okay? That's how it's done. Plugging in vacancy, maintenance, and management figure. You can get the market cap again from any good commercial broker. It's always a good thing when you're buying these properties, and that's the reason why we get, again, free equity at closing. It's a bad thing when you're selling, and that's when the asset becomes a liability, as I keep saying. Now, there's reserves for replacements, and that's where almost every pro forma operating statement should be included in the section line in the document that states reserved for replacements. Okay? So when you're looking at a pro forma operating statement, we're going to cover one. Pro forma operating statement. There should be an area in there that says reserves for replacements. You're going to see that line in there. This is completely different from the repairs and maintenance clause. A repairs and maintenance clause are something entirely different. We're going to talk about that. Okay, page 44. Let me pull something up here in 1 second, too. All right. Page 44. Reserves for replacements are due to the fact that common things the units, whether it's an apartment building, multifamily, retail, or hotel items, give wear and tear that need to be replaced, guys. So I want you to write these down. These are the bullets for this, okay? It's HVAC, okay? HVAC, heating and air conditioning units. Roofs, HVAC. Okay. All right. All right, you're welcome. So that's HVAC units, roofs, okay? The roof, appliances, and also parking lots. Parking lots, guys, parking lots. And property we discussed that was out in the shopping center. That particular property, the whole parking lot was rough. It was really rough. To pave that thing, it's not that expensive. But, I know you guys have been walking down the sidewalk in various places across the nation, and some of the sidewalks are just crooked due to trees and roots and stuff like that. And the city and county, they never replace the parking lots. But yet, when you have a property like a shopping center or a retail center, something like that, and there's ruts and stuff like that, somebody can walk in and get their foot caught in it and fall. Even though you have insurance, guys, the insurance company is going to go there and they're going to see that you need the thing replaced, and they're going to say you got to repave it. Okay, so that's just food for thought. Make sure you don't try to cut corners on certain things that are going to come up later. Just factor it in. Factor that in. Okay. Now, buildings need to be maintained some more than others, of course, also depending on where you live due to weather. Some have snow plows. I was just recently in Boston. Ooh, need I say more? Anybody here from Boston? I think I got a couple people. 1, 2, 3. Good. Guys, I love Boston. Boston's a smoking place. I love it. Tons of history, great place. It's just cold. And I'm here in Southern California, and that's just cold for me. But you guys got the snow plows. Other places like here in California, we need gardeners and maintenance crews to come in, right? There's lots of debris that happens out here because of the growth. And it's wise to always have a maintenance account set up so when maintenance issues arise, you'll have them covered. And a maintenance account is nothing more, guys, than your project management team just setting that up. And you should have reserves set aside for that, as knowing what the maintenance is going on. Now, if the maintenance wasn't being taken care of the proper way, meaning imagine if you guys have big snowbanks that weren't plowed all the time, or if there's issues with overgrowth or debris on it because the maintenance crew didn't come in every once in so often, like Kevin's property, how the overgrowth was happening all the time. Now he's going to have to continue every once in a while, maybe once every, who knows, out in Texas, because they go through seasons too. But even if it's just once every 3 months to come and keep trimming the bushes and making it nice, all that should be factored in for your replacement reserves. So rule number 1, guys, these are major 3 rules I want you to look at. These are 3 major rules, okay? Rule number 1 is always borrow more money than you need. Always. Okay, excuse me one second. Always borrow more money than you need. Now, the reason why I say always borrow more money is because of all those unforeseen problems. Now, when you get equity at closing, lots of equity at closing, again, you can exchange that equity for capital. And the way that we do that, obviously, is bringing in OPM, other people's money, as long as they're the right people. And that's what we use our attorneys for, to make sure that the right people. Now, when we do that, what happens is now we have enough capital to go ahead and offset any debt service, any maintenance, everything we just discussed, until that thing's cash flowing and coming up to speed. Now, rule number 2 is always get more time than needed. Boy, is that important. Unfortunately, we can't buy more time. We just can't. Not in life, but when it comes to our projects, we sure can. What we can do is we can go ahead and negotiate time. Let me give you an example. Certain things we can put into our a clause in our contracts are things like this. When we go ahead and structure 36-month seller financing, we can say we only need seller financing for a very short period of time, 36 months. And then what we could also write in there is, but I need 2 6-month extensions. What do we just buy? Another year. And it's very short for them. And then they might come back and say, well, we'll give you 1 6-month extension, but we sure can't give you 2. Okay? So we say, fine, you give us 1 6-month extension and we'll buy the next one for $10,000. Okay? And then if they agree to that, then we say, well, if we need to buy any more time, we put this in there. If we need to buy any more time, we can buy 6-month intervals for $10,000 deposits, and it sometimes flies. Now, they'll come back and they'll say, well, what does this mean? It's got to have a cap. I need 36 months. Was a long time already to begin with for me. You said a short period of time. Remind them, it is a short period of time. This thing is a big, ugly, empty box. Or this thing needs to go through annexation, or this thing needs to get plans approved, or this thing has a lot of vacancies. And I spoke with all the other people in the area, and we brought all the other professionals in. And by the way, aren't you glad that I did that? You're giving me seller financing. Aren't you glad that I did my due diligence and that I spoke with the right people and got the right timelines? Would you want me to tell you to only give me 12 months? And then I come back to you and I say, look, the deal's off because I can't fill it? Or are you happy that I came at you and said 36 months and we might need a little bit more time for unforeseen issues. I'm being responsible because I want to do business with you as you want to do business with me. So it's only fair that you give me enough time so I don't paint myself in the corner. Now, I expect to cash you out in 24 months. How do you, well, that would be great. Right, but I just don't want to go ahead and paint myself into the corner, and I'm sure you can respect that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. You understand that, right? Okay, I understand. They do. They do, because you're being straightforward with them, and that's the relationship. That's the psychology of relationships. That's saying to these people, look, we want to do business together, and this is the way that I'm doing it. I don't mind educating them a little bit, but through negotiations, we're going to discuss. One of the questions that one of you smart people asked was, at what point do you educate people too much? All right? Now, I give you guys everything, okay? That's what we're here for. I'm giving you guys a lot of stuff, but of course, there's so much we can cover in 4 days, but I'm giving it to you. The rule number 3 is always have room to negotiate for more money and more time. And that's where rule number 3 comes in. Always have room to negotiate for more money, and for more time. Okay? For more money and for more time. So you need that room to be able to get in there and to bring in additional capital if need be, and you also need the room to get in there and ask for more time. Now, you guys have probably heard me say this many times, is that under that scenario that I was just mentioning, if we go back to the seller and we say to the seller, look, we really want to cash out within 24 months. Imagine if you got it done in 18 and you went back to him and you had a note that he was carrying, let's say he's carrying $1 million on your property, and now you went ahead and got it up to speed, everything's happening, the thing's flush, it's done deal. You've already have your equity. You can go ahead. It's at market occupancy for over 180 days. The financier says, no problem. We can do a cash out refi. It's a beautiful day. The sun's shining. Everything's wonderful. And then you can go ahead and take that seller out and you call the seller. You're going to get a discount. You will get a discount to pay them off early. And you don't always have to put that in writing because, again, guys, you can always go back to it and everything is negotiable. All right? And if you're doing it with me, it's just mandatory. It's just what we do. Under certain circumstances, we won't do that. We're not going to go do that on the senior living facility. We just won't, because they already had it advertised and they gave us what we wanted. It was 18 months, no payment, no interest. So we're not going to go back and do that on that particular project. But for the rest of them, yes. All right, we got smoking terms on that thing, and it's great. To determine how much time and money you need, you must have all the facts filled out on the pre-screening sheets. Okay? You must have all the facts filled out. Now, every so often, I get my acquisition team to tell me, hey, Terry, we're not getting the property information sheets filled out 100%. I say, okay, well, we need them 100% filled out. That's why what I've done is I've created a way for it to be mandatory for you guys to fill the information out. Now, is that doing you a good service? Absolutely it is. Now, when you're doing the property information sheet review and looking at the information, if you get hung up on any particular aspect that we covered today, whether it's the asking price, whether it's the loan amount, whether it's the repairs, whether it's the ARV or the ADV, okay, you give your best guesstimate as you can to the information, but you want it to be accurate, so you have to do your pre-contract due diligence to find out, all right? You have to get in the ballpark. And I'll tell you right now, if you put down the wrong information and tell me the repairs are $300,000 and then we go and we find out that $3 million, the deal's just going to be a waste of time. So that's why I've put this in there, to make sure that you do your pre-contract due diligence, okay? You got to make sure that you do that. All right.